In this video, we're going to have a look at how to find the rule of a linear line using a graph. So to find the rule of the linear line, our first step is to find the gradient of the linear line using our formula. Our second step is to identify the y-intercept. And the third step is to substitute those values into the general rule y equals mx plus c. Remembering that m is the gradient and c is the y-intercept. So let's have a look at an example of how do we find the rule using those three steps. So in our example, we want to find the rule for the linear line shown on the graph. Now the first step is to find the gradient. And to find the gradient, you're going to use the formula y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So to use the formula, you need to identify two sets of points on the line. So the two sets of points are going to be 0 and 4 and 2 and 1. So I want to go ahead and label those 2 points x1, y1, x2, y2, and then go back and substitute those values into the gradient formula. So y2 minus y1 is going to be 1 minus 4 over x2 minus x1 is going to be 2 minus 0. So that is going to equal to negative 3 over 2. So the gradient of my line is negative 3 over 2. And from the graph, I can tell that my line is sloping downwards. So I would expect to have a negative number as my gradient. My next step is to find the y-intercept. And to do that, I start at the top of my y-axis and then work my way down until I cross the line. And then once I've stopped, I need to have a look and see what that number is, and that is going to be my y-intercept. So in this case, my y-intercept is 4. So my last step to determine the rule is to substitute those values into the general rule of y equals mx plus c. So I know my gradient is negative 3 over 2. My y-intercept is 4. So the rule of the line is going to be y equals negative 32x plus 4. So as an example of how we can find the rule of a line using the graph.